Jeremiah Turner had worked tirelessly for over 10 years at an insurance firm, dedicating his skills, ideas, and late nights to build something that wasn't even his. He prided himself on his work ethic and integrity, but it hadn't taken him long to notice the cold, dismissive attitude his boss, Ed Kavanaugh, had toward him. There was a subtle but constant tone of prejudice in Ed's behavior. In meetings, Ed would dismiss Jeremiah's contributions, downplay his achievements, and often credit others for his ideas. One afternoon, Jeremiah was working through his lunch break, as he often did, when Ed called him into his office. His voice was sharp, and he wore a look that Jeremiah had come to associate with confrontation. "Jeremiah," Ed began, "we need to talk about your performance. You've been slipping up lately." Jeremiah blinked in surprise. He hadn't missed a deadline or let any projects falter. Ed's eyes narrowed. "I just don't think you're a fit for our team anymore," he continued, the words cutting into Jeremiah's composure. Jeremiah knew what was happening. He could sense it in the patronizing tone Ed often used when addressing him. Still, he kept calm, even as his blood boiled. After everything he had done for this company, Ed wasn't even giving him a chance to explain or defend himself. "I'm letting you go, effective immediately," Ed said, his voice cold and final. Jeremiah opened his mouth to speak, but Ed held up his hand. "There's nothing more to say. Please pack your things and leave by the end of the day." As he packed his belongings, a mix of anger and hurt washed over him. He'd given so much to this job and felt as though he'd been tossed aside without a second thought. But even amid his frustration, an idea began to form in his mind. Jeremiah had learned the ins and outs of the company, understood its flaws and its potential. He knew his friend Ethan, who ran a successful investment firm, was always looking for opportunities to take over struggling companies and turn them around. That evening, Jeremiah met with Ethan, sharing his vision. "Ethan, I know the ins and outs of this place. It's been mishandled for years, and Ed's leadership is bringing it down," he said, the conviction clear in his voice. Ethan nodded, intrigued. They spent hours analyzing the company's financials and potential, eventually deciding to move forward. With Ethan's resources and Jeremiah's expertise, they were in a strong position to make an offer. The acquisition process was smooth and swift. Within weeks, Jeremiah found himself walking back into the office, this time not as an employee but as an owner. Heads turned, jaws dropped, and whispers filled the room. Jeremiah headed straight to Ed's office, who was visibly confused and a bit nervous to see him again. "Jeremiah, what are you doing here?" Ed stammered, clearly uncomfortable. Jeremiah offered a slight smile. "Good to see you too, Ed. You might be interested to know that I'm now one of the new owners of this company," he replied, watching as Ed's face turned a shade paler. The power dynamic had shifted, and it was clear Ed had no idea how to handle it. Without missing a beat, Jeremiah called a company-wide meeting, gathering everyone in the main office. Employees, many of whom had been silently suffering under Ed's management, looked on in anticipation. Jeremiah stood at the front, exuding confidence and authority. "Thank you all for your hard work and dedication," he began. "Effective immediately, I'll be working with each of you to build a more inclusive, respectful, and productive environment. This is not just a company, it's a team. Everyone's voice will matter here." The employees broke into applause, feeling a renewed sense of hope. Jeremiah then looked directly at Ed, his gaze steady. "Ed, we'll have a private meeting to discuss your role moving forward," he said calmly. Ed nodded stiffly, clearly uncomfortable but without much choice in the matter. Part 2. In the privacy of Ed's former office, Jeremiah sat across from him, his expression serious. "Ed, I believe everyone deserves a chance to learn and grow. So I'm giving you the option to stay on board, but there will be changes," Jeremiah said, his tone firm but measured. Ed fumbled with his words, trying to justify his past actions. "Jeremiah, I only ever did what I thought was best for the company," he stammered, avoiding eye contact. Jeremiah sighed, seeing through Ed's shallow apology. "If you choose to stay, you'll report to me directly, and you'll follow the new policies. Respect and inclusivity are now non-negotiable here," Jeremiah said, making it clear that there were no shortcuts. Ed agreed, though it was clear he was deeply unsettled by the change. The office felt different in the weeks that followed. Jeremiah established regular meetings with his team, creating an environment where everyone felt valued and heard. Projects that had been stagnant for months suddenly started moving forward with newfound energy and creativity. One particular Friday, Jeremiah invited the entire team to an offsite event, a team-building retreat aimed at fostering collaboration and trust. For the first time, employees who had been afraid to speak up under Ed's management found themselves sharing ideas openly, laughing, and bonding. Jeremiah's leadership transformed the company's culture entirely. He built programs for professional development, ensuring that everyone had access to growth opportunities. He rewarded hard work and initiative and created a culture of transparency. Word spread throughout the industry, and within a few months, the company was attracting top talent, eager to work in a space that valued diversity and innovation. Jeremiah's relationship with his employees became one of mutual respect and camaraderie. He often shared the story of his dismissal, not as a tale of revenge, but as a lesson in resilience. "Never let someone else's opinion define your worth," he would say, encouraging others to stand up for themselves and pursue their dreams, no matter the obstacles. The success of the company became a point of pride for everyone involved. They had gone from a toxic environment under Ed's rule to a thriving, supportive workspace. And as for Ed, he eventually chose to leave, unable to adapt to the new culture. It was a quiet departure, with little fanfare, and Jeremiah wished him well, hoping he would learn from the experience. Over time, the company flourished, achieving record-breaking profits and becoming a leader in its field. Jeremiah had transformed his personal struggle into a driving force, creating an environment where respect, equality, and hard work were paramount. The office had become a place where everyone felt valued, their contributions recognized, and their potential limitless. Jeremiah's journey from employee to owner became an inspiring story within the industry, showing that resilience, courage, and a refusal to settle for less could change lives. His former co-workers who had suffered under Ed's rule now flourished, growing into the roles they had always been capable of, thanks to Jeremiah's vision and leadership.